what we just seen in there was the ideal peerless, and the advantage of that is speed. That's what we're looking for when we're trying to get grinders. And the biggest thing that is a downfall on an older grinder like this is setup time. Setup time is what kills you on this particular grinder. On a grinder like these old ones over here, setup time is incredibly long, and that's why these types of grinders are an art form. Trying to get it set so that it's a perfect alignment between the stone and the reel, so that I'm grinding my blades or my reel into a perfect cylinder, is what my goal is. And it's an art form with an old grinder. These new grinders with all the little gadgets and dials and stuff, they're fast, and they take a lot of the art form out of it. Kind of make it a little bit, I'm not going to say that it's foolproof, but it takes a lot of the challenge out of it. And so we're going to show you how to use an older one, and then we're going to kind of talk about what's different on that one in there. You noticed on the one with from John Deere, that one there, when they did their grinding, you've seen massive amounts of coolant being poured on the grinders as they were grinding. Most of your modern grinders have a coolant system. The idea is we don't want to take the temper out of these blades. And so most of them have some sort of flood cooling, and when you set it up, you're going to have water pouring on the reel blade and on the bed knife blade. And so most of them have some sort of cooling system. Most of them are a flood system. The ideal peerless, instead of using a flood system, are using what they call a mist system. And they're spraying air and finely atomized water. And the idea is when that water hits it, it's a real fine mist, and that mist will evaporate. And when it evaporates, changes into a vapor, it's going to absorb heat. And so they're getting the cooling they desire with a mist rather than flooding it. And flooding it, you have to try to capture all that water moving all over. The mist system evaporates and goes into the air. You don't have to recollect it. And they're only using just a little bit. So it's kind of it's the advantage. It's an advantage that they're using. But your modern grinders, your newer ones, they move towards some sort of cooling system, and that's a benefit that you're looking for in a grinder. If you're doing a relief grind, you really need to flood. If you're doing a spin grind, you're contacting the blades just briefly, and it doesn't generate much heat. That's why the Dual Express, most those of you that have seen that and experienced it, that's why the Dual Express doesn't have a cooling system. It's predominantly just a spin grinder. It contacts each blade just briefly. It strikes each blade, and so it doesn't generate enough heat. It's that relief grind that generates the heat. You're grinding the same blade continuously. When we look at the difference between a Dual Express and a spin grinder, the big difference is speed. When I'm going to actually put a relief into a blade, it takes time to set up. That ideal peerless that we just seen, you got to adjust the fingers, get them to where they index properly, and all your adjustments have to be correct. Otherwise, it doesn't catch, it doesn't index, it doesn't do whatever it needs to do. And that takes some time. That one in there appeared to take a lot of time, but he kept repeating himself to try to get the idea across, which kind of makes it confusing. Once you've done it once or twice, it's actually pretty fast. That little indexing thing is pretty simple to adjust. If you buy a fully in a box, that's an automatic relief grinder. It automatically changes blades. It automatically indexes. You still have to do the same setup. You still got to parallel the reel up and down and forward and back. You still have to go and adjust those fingers so that it catches the blade properly, holds it, and it's held in the right position when it grinds. When you push the button, if you don't have it adjusted and set up right, it's going to destroy a reel. And so people are like, well, it's so simple, you just push a button. Well, the button is the final piece. There is a big procedure that you adjust and set it up just like the ideal, and then you push the button. It automatically indexes, it automatically goes from blade to blade. You program into the little computer how much metal you want to take off, how many blades there are, and you've done all the adjustments, and then you tell it to go. When it's done doing the program cycle, a light flashes and the machine shuts down. You open it up, pull the reel out, or switch it to a spin cycle, which is do an adjustment. You take the stone off, put a different stone on, You do an adjustment procedure, you reprogram it, I want to spin, I want to take this much metal off. You push start again, you close the doors, when the light flashes, it's done. And so it's pretty fast, but it still takes a lot of setup. It's still an involved process. It's better than this one here, which is better than that one over there, but they all cost more. The Dual Express, I'm under the understanding it's around $24,000, $25,000 for the bed knife grinder, or the real grinder. The bed knife grinder is about $10,000. The fully in a box is about $28,000. So pretty expensive. Not a lot of difference between the two. The big difference is one does a relief grind, one really doesn't. There are special attachments you can use with the Dual Express to put a relief in it, but their philosophy is it actually puts a relief in it when it